There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. Honorable members, I've been informed that the WIP party has agreed that there will be no notices of motion or motion without notice. Further, that the programming committee has agreed to defer oral questions to the Minister on Environmental Affairs to the date to be announced in due course. Before proceeding, Honorable Chief Whip.
Thanks very much, House Chair. If you permit me to speak on the order paper. The order paper as is, we agree with the changes that you have announced in the House, but just requesting that on the order paper, the Minister of Telecommunications and Postal Services, the ministers have agreed that because of some reasons put forward by the Minister of Telecommunications, that he be the first to start. So we agreed with that. Thanks.
Okay. Since that is not a problem, the House agrees. Honorable Mokwele.
Thank you, Chair. I'm standing on a point of privilege, if you allow me, Chair. Okay. Since the beginning of the 5th Parliament, we as the EFF has recognized that, or we have noticed that Parliament only conducts itself only with 2 languages, which is English and Afrikaans. And according to the Constitution, everybody in this country has the right, including the expression of his or her mother language. Now I'm putting into the table that this matter of usage of only 2 languages in Parliament be set aside. We must be allowed to be able to use and to have access, being in print communication or a soft communication. We be allowed to have everything in our mother language. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mokwele. The modalities of making sure that the print and everything, I think, will be addressed to the relevant committee. But the issue in terms of the Constitution is very clear. We are quite correct. All languages in South Africa are respected, and we are free to express in any of the official language in South Africa. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the new Minister of Communication, Honorable Kupai. Congratulations. Before we proceed to questions, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you both ministers. As it was indicated, we'll be starting with the Minister of Telecommunications, Honorable Kwele. Let me invite you, Honorable Kwele. There won't be any problem to use the podium so that it can be convenient to look at the members. It's not a problem. We are going to start with question 240 from Honorable Nita to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The response to the question to Honorable Nita is that firstly, SAPO is should be noted that we are a service provider, but we are working very hard to assist another sister state agency, which is SASA, who's got the responsibility to take over the responsibility of delivering the social grant to our citizens. So we are working in a collaborative manner in that effect. But because there is a procurement process, SAPO did respond to the request for proposal, and there was a due diligence by the SASSA, which was done on SASSA's behalf by CSIR, and currently we are waiting the outcome of those results. As soon as they can then tell SAPO what services will they require from SAPO, we stand ready to assist SASSA to deliver on its mandate. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Ncita.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Appreciating, Chair, the fact that the role of the minister, I understand, is one of providing as a service provider, but the responsibility lies with the Department of Social Development. What I will then ask the minister to do for us, because of that reason, to help the NCOP by giving us a written response in terms of both departments, so that we do not involve ministers in terms of procurement issues, because we want the state of readiness, which may come from both departments collectively. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. We have got no problem really. I'll ask my colleague, the Minister of Social Development, that maybe we do that reporting jointly, because we are working as one government. And two, I'm very happy that you mentioned this thing that as ministers, we don't get involved in tenders, because we don't participate in tender processes. Yeah. Yes, we don't. We oversee the entities that they are doing these tenders correctly. That's where our role as executive. Honourable members, the laws are passed by us as members of parliament, and we must respect them. The procurement laws are there because they are passed by us, but I make a commitment, Chair, that I'll engage my colleague, maybe just to say there is an interministerial committee which is dealing with this thing, because as government we are serious that we shouldn't jeopardize the payment of grants to our social grant beneficiaries. And that committee meets on a regular basis to assess this progress. The last assessment, we were hoping that after the assessment by SITA, then SASSA will find which services need to be provided by the post office. It's only when we know as a post office which services are we supposed to assist with that we can then prepare and make sure that we do the pilot so that there'll be no rush at the end with new systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Engelbrecht.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Minister, thank you very much. According to a newspaper report, SCOPA, no, this is my, give me a chance. The Post Office and SASSA went into negotiations and at a SCOPA meeting, it was informed, Mr. Chair, I need
Honourable
protection,
members,
please.
honourable members. Sorry, Honourable Engelbrecht. Honourable members. Honourable members. Any member that is doing a supplementary question, let that member be accorded the respect. In as much as when you are doing it, she has to do the very same thing. Can we allow Honourable Engelbrecht to do the supplementary question? You are protected, Honourable Engelbrecht.
Thank you, Chair. It was said at a SCOPA meeting that Post Office and SASSA will be ready in November for implementation. So I'm concerned with your previous reply. I want to link that to the Auditor General, a panel of experts, including the ex-governor of the Reserve Bank, Governor Jill Marcus, and I have a big concern that the SASSA payments will not be done, especially seen in the light of your previous comment. And it has been said that the Minister of Social Development has been a huge obstruction in terms of the payment of SASSA. I would like to find out from you, Minister, have you been in negotiations with the Minister in terms of taking over the payments? If so, what plans have been discussed? And if not, what is the current standing as per the knowledge regarding the Post Office taking over these payments? Thank you.
Honorable Minister, honorable members, let me clarify this thing so that when we start, we are on the same page, all of us. Time for reply by the Minister to the original question is 5 minutes. Time for asking a supplementary question, it's 2 minutes. Time for replying to supplementary question is 4 minutes. And only 4 supplementary question. And when we do a supplementary question, it's a supplementary question, not supplementary questions. It's applicable to all of you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. It'd be difficult for me to respond to media allegations, but what I can respond is what I know as a member of executive. The original plan was that we should start piloting whatever tasks are given to us as government, whether it's SASSA working with the Post Office, before the end of this year, so that progressively we do that pilot so that there's no congestion towards end of March. So that report was correct, which was aiming that we maybe, but it was said by December we should really have those pilots of the handover of the process from the current service provider. I'm not having the negotiations with the minister. I sit with the minister in the interministerial committee, which oversees this project. As I've said, as ministers, we don't sit in allocation of tenders, but we make sure that we must be satisfied that the reports which are submitted to the Constitutional Court are credible reports, and 2, we are sticking to the time frame. I honestly hope that even with this decision by SASSA, and I hope that in the very same, in the near future, maybe in a days or weeks' time, they should come to some conclusion, because that's what is going to be critical to assist us to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you for the responses, Honorable Minister. I'm speaking under the impression that you are aware that you had to assist the Department of Social Development, and even though there are some outstanding matters to finalize between the 2 departments, you are preparing yourself. Just want to check that should it be finalized before the end of the month, are you in a position or do you have capacity to implement?
Honorable Minister.
Yes, we do have the capacity to assist in most of the aspects of this handover. The only challenge is that we cannot invest money until we get the appointment letter. And that's why we're hoping that if we can get the appointment letter and specify things they need assistance from us, then we can then deploy the resources to assist with that. As you know, the institution which will be dealing with this in SAPO is mainly the Postbank, which the Postbank is functioning very well. Even under these difficult conditions in SAPO, Postbank is still a very viable concern, and it's got adequate capital to invest in the projects of this nature as a cushion infrastructure within the SAPO group itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Hatting.
Thank you, Chair. If we, firstly, I think many of us were surprised that the executive work as a unit, nobody would have accused the Minister of Social Development of working in a unit because that was never the impression she created when she's responding here. It's very much on her own. But, Honourable, I would like to ask the Honourable Minister, and we hear about pilot projects going out. The SASSA payments, the grants payments, was in such a mess, it reached international headlines people in South Africa didn't know whether they were going to get their grants on time. So much so that the Constitutional Court had to intervene. And there's monthly reports that must go to the Constitutional Court. Yet, the reports are now, during this week, that it appears that the deadline will not be made entirely. And now you, Minister, comes here and say pilot projects must still be rolled out. What assurance do we have that the Postbank will be able, in the limited time that remains, to get the infrastructure in place, to get all the software in place, so that our receivers of grants, who are heavily reliant on the grants, will not be in the same position than last year, where the payment had to go back to CPS, which appears to be the minister's favorite supplier. What assurance do we have that in a limited time, we are now at the end, approaching the end of October?
Honorable Hatting.
My 2 minutes are up, I think so. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Hatting. No, I don't know where you get this impression that Minister Dlamini is working on her own. The government, no, yes, she's got a responsibility.
No, let me clear it early.
Yeah.
Honorable Hatting, you can't be dealing direct with the Minister. You've posed a supplementary question. And Honorable Minister, both of you, you can do anything via myself.
Thank you, Chairperson. Through you, Chairperson. Let me not look at him. Chairperson, I've just said that there is interministerial committee which is shared by the head of state, which is President Zuma, which meets on a regular basis, because as government, we are trying to prevent what happened last year, to make sure that these people who depend on the social grants continue to have the social grant. That's why after each and every of those meetings, we issue a media press briefing where we answer the public directly on what we are doing. The issues you are saying, yes, there may be challenges as we move forward. Why are we saying we should start now, not piloting, not in March? Is to make sure that our systems, they don't affect, the change of the system don't affect the citizen. We must test them now, see if they are working well, so that we don't get surprises on the last moment. That's what we are doing as a government as a whole, particularly led by the Interministerial Committee. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 262, asked by Honorable Julius. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. The question is about spectrum and the impact on reducing the cost of data in South Africa. The reply is as follows. There is no direct conceptual or mathematical relationship between the use of frequency spectrum and the reduction of cost of data. However, different factors can be applied to the use of spectrum which have a positive or negative effect on the cost of data services. The cost of acquiring the spectrum by service provider is associated with spectrum fees. So if your spectrum fees are high, then it's going to have impact by the service provider passing those to the input costs. So that's why as government, we are hammering Ngangani. We're not very excited about spectrum auctions because that's increased the cost of access to spectrum, which is a resource which is needed by the operators. Secondly, the amount of spectrum an operator have access to impact of the cost of rolling out the network, particularly if you look at low-frequency spectrum, 700, 800. So those who have that spectrum don't have to build a lot of infrastructure. And then by their so doing, then reduce the cost of deploying, and we hope that that will be passed also to the consumers. And the other factor is the efficiency of the use of spectrum. That's why all these things are reflected in the new white paper we passed last year. And the government has to really intervene in terms of legislation and policies to make sure that as an economy, we have got a fair access to the use of spectrum. That's why we are talking about open access networks, spectrum sharing, so that we don't increase the cost of deploying our networks. So those are the key elements, basically. We're saying that the legislation we're trying to pilot and hopefully we'll reshare by beginning of next year is specifically dealing with the implementation of the white paper to give effect to these. The challenge is, for instance, Chairperson, lastly, if you just auction it, only those who have got deep pockets. And yet we still got the responsibility to make sure that even those who want to operate but don't have deep pockets have access to spectrum. If I want to operate a network here in Cape Town or in Western Cape, I must have access. It can't just be for the big companies or multinationals. That's the approach we are taking as government and the response to the issue of the impact of spectrum on the cost to communicate. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Julius.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for the response, Minister. I'm sorry, I hope I had an hour for this one. But, Minister, I feel that the ANC government, as you said, that's your position, you do not have the appetite to reduce data in this country. Let me explain to you why. Let me explain to you why. Data in South Africa is very expensive, and we all know that, right? All cell phone operators in this country asked us as a committee, like, listen, we want spectrum to be open. First, Minister of Communications, Faith Mutambi, didn't want to open spectrum, SABC, the set-top things. And then you interdicted the sale, you interdicted ICASA to sell spectrum. And these operators wanted the spectrum. They told us in a committee meeting that, listen, if we have spectrum, we have wider access. Wider access means that we can sell it for cheaper. It makes economic sense. Now, your point that you don't want the ones with bigger pockets to benefit, they all have BEE partners. They already have BEE partners. Instead of creating one crony of the ANC that will benefit out of your obsession not to free up this spectrum, you let all the people in South Africa that are using data suffer because of this high price. Minister, you have the opportunity. Why don't you just open up the spectrum? Can you undertake to open up spectrum so that we can have cheaper data, or are you not listening as ANC government to the people of South Africa? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think Honorable Julius has got a lot of misconception. The ANC government is the one which is working to improve the cost of data in this way. What you are just saying as a member of DA, just sell everything, the market will solve itself. The market has not solved itself since 1994. No, they were licensed by your partners in the National Party in 1993. So what I'm saying, the market has not solved these problems. And what we are saying, we are talking about open access networks. We are talking about sharing of the infrastructure because the cost is in the infrastructure. As an ANC government, we are talking about the rapid deployment policy because the biggest cost, up to 47% of the cost of the operator, is the cost of trying to get passage to lay their networks. Those are the things we are doing to assist our operators. We don't hate them, we love them. But you also forget you're talking about BE partners. My understanding, only one company is compliant with BE regulation. All others are not currently compliant. Secondly, listen. Chair, let me speak to the chair, not the...
Honorable members, can you listen to the minister? Continue, Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, we must liberate the Honorable Julius from the notion that only the big companies have got capacity to deliver this type of modern services. We have companies which are led by black South Africans who are not having access to spectrum, who are doing operations in Africa, many countries. They also want to operate in their own country. So that's a mess we're sorting out, which was handed over by the apartheid regime, to ensure that everyone has got access to this natural resource, which is spectrum, and the spectrum is used efficiently. There's no one who's going to hoard it, because if you hoard it now, it's our policy, we take it back. So those are the measures the ANC government is doing to reduce the cost. In addition, we are deploying internet exchange points, not only in our region, but in our towns. That's what will reduce the cost, so that you don't route your data through your former colonizers. Our data doesn't have to be routed through England anymore. So those are the things which are starting to bring down the cost of data. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 267, asked by Honorable Gaylor. Honorable Minister, 267.
Thank you. Firstly, let me say it is important to note that a banking license is not a prerequisite for the transactional business of paying social grants. The social grant we can pay because we have got Postbank, which is operational right now, like I've said before. I can nonetheless confirm, after complying with all requirements pertaining to the request for the authorization to establish a bank, a fully fledged bank, we are working, we've made all the submissions to the South African Reserve Bank, and we are waiting the response of the regulator, which is the South African Reserve Bank. It is also important that in addition to that, in April this year, we appointed a fully fledged board of the Postbank itself to guide this process. And we've been working very well with them, with SAPO, to guide this process. We did meet the deadline which was set by the South African Reserve Bank as a regulator of 4th of July. We submitted well before the 4th of July. Let me reiterate that the South African Post Office has assured me that it has sufficient asset and capabilities and human resource to facilitate the payment of social grants. We have got a national footprint of more than 2,800 points of presence across the country. And there's no other institution, even the commercial bank, which has got such a national footprint. So I thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Gaylor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for your answer, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, when we visited the Reserve Bank as a Committee of Finance, according to them, they are still awaiting some more documentations from you. I'm surprised that you said you submitted all the required documents. According to them, they are waiting for more documents to register the Postal Bank. So if you can clear us on that one. Secondly,
Honorable Gaylor, we are doing a supplementary question. And there are supposed to be 4. We are doing the first one. No, honorable members.
Can you help
Honorable
me
Gaylor is protected.
Can you help me? This man is an
Honorable
important-
Gaylor, you have made your question. The minister will deal with the comment in terms of your question.
Chairperson, can you help me with this man here?
I'm saying
There's a
you are
problem, this
protected. Honorable Gaylor, you,
Honorable Minister, if the bank is registered, what mechanism would you put in place to safeguard the social grants from being directed to bail out failing SOEs? Thank you.
Honorable
And I
Minister.
wouldn't want to bet.
Thank you. On the first question about awaiting certain documents, of course, we update the information as per request of the regulator, which is the Reserve Bank. Some of the information we have just updated is the issue of the bank controlling company and what structure that bank controlling company. And because we're still resolving that with National Treasury, we have now submitted. On the issue of protection of social grant, let me just answer this because we are always told, Chairperson, at some stage, when the post office was in trouble, put his finger in the kitty, in the money of the depositors. That will never happen. Since we have put measures in 2004, none of those things have ever happened. That's why today I can say the Postbank as a subdivision is well protected within the post office, is profitable, it's got more than 5,000 active accounts, which are used by our own citizens. It's got more than 1.5 billion in terms of capital adequacy requirements, which is reserved there. So, and now we have got a board. Before it never had a board, it was just a division. And that board is made out of professional people. We appoint the board in consultation with the South African Reserve Bank after thorough fit and proper assessment, vetting of these people. So those are the measures we've put in place that no one can put the finger in the kitty for the citizen if they, and a lot of our citizens, I'll tell you why they prefer to use the post office, Postbank. Their transactional costs are the lowest. Yeah, they are lowest than any other commercial bank we have. There's no one who's got low charges than the post office. And that's what our people need, particularly those who are coming from lower segments of our society, poorer section of our society. So I hope those things will give confidence to all the members that we've put practical measures in place to ring-fence the Postbank from any maladministration. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Dlamini.
Angibonga kakhulu sihlalo, siyabonga impendulo Minister. Nokuthi imali tabantu bale country lelati safe. Umbuto wami ke uthi is an additional work.
Honorable Dlamini, you are accusing Honorable Gaylor about the voice. It seems as if you have got the same problem. Be closer to your mic.
Ngiyabonga sihlalo. Ngikhulile sengimuze lamalanga. Ngiyabonga sihlalo. Umbuto wami bengicale ngokuthi siyabonga ukuthi imali ta committee ta la eSouth Africa tigcineke kahle ku Postbank. Then ke siya acknowledge nokuthi le payment yama grants will be an add-on to iPostbank. Umbuto uthi kulabasebenzi nabo ku Postbank ngabe banele yini ukuthi mangabe senithatha le function batokhona kuwenda lo msebenzi and bakhuluma tilimi letikhulunywa ngilabantu labatobe bahola ama grants.
Honorable Minister.
Yes, Honorable Chairperson, the post office does have trained staff in all our retail offices who are doing the face and transaction with the citizen. And they speak the local languages, most of them. If you go to any outlying post office, the longest queue will be to the Postbank teller. And because, as I said, people, sometimes we ask them, why are you queuing here? Why are you? They withdraw money from the commercial bank, but they do their transaction through the Postbank when they are paying for money to their children, because it's cheap, it's much cheaper to do it through the post office. So we do have the staff. What we are doing now, on the ground level, the staff is there. What we are doing, we are filling the vacancies at the top level. As you know, we have got the acting CEO. We have asked the board to expedite their final appointment of the CEO and other senior technical staff who are required, like IT people, senior IT risk officers. Those are the things we are trying to finalize before the end of this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 237 asked by Honorable Prince. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. The SOC, or State-Owned Companies Rationalization, is on track following the recommendations of the Presidential Review Commission, which was released around 2012, and the National Development Plan released around 2012. The report which we have is that we are trying to consolidate the state infrastructure companies, particularly in this phase of convergence. And the first two companies we have identified as phase one rationalization is the Broadband Infraco and Centec. Broadband Infraco deals with telecom infrastructure, and Centec has been dealing with broadcasting infrastructure. But with the convergence, they do exactly the same thing today. So currently, these two companies, the boards are engaging and doing due diligences so that we follow a rational process of rationalizing these two entities. This is important to deal even with the challenges which have been faced by the Broadband Infraco in terms of financial position. As you know, the financial position of Centec is still very good. It's a well-run company. In the BBI, we've just appointed a new CEO after the term of the previous CEO will start now in November. And those are the things we are putting in place. We also remember that BBI never had previously the CFO. 2 years ago, we appointed the CFO. He said he's just coming for a while, but he's done a good job, and he's staying in the company. We've extended his employment for another 3 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Prince.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Minister, for the answers. I just want to check what will be the time frames so that we can speed up the rollout of the broadband network. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
The GAP said that the boards have been given the instruction. We really hope that some of the things may need legislation, but the things which don't need legislation will be implemented immediately. To illustrate the point, they are already working together in most of the projects. Current project of rolling out the connectivity to 8 districts. As a state, we took, after failed tender processes by CETA, we took a process that we utilize the state-owned entities. This will also help to capitalize them. And they are working together with Centec to roll out the infrastructure, and they've identified and they're starting that rollout already. The delay is mainly on the CETA side because they have to come with services. We are busy currently addressing that. Currently, the Broadband Infraco and the Centec CEOs and the boards, they are working much in a collaborative manner. And in that manner, we are also realizing the value, even as a state, that in this collaborative, that we are getting the infrastructure at a reduced cost. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Julius.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister, for the opportunity. I just need some clarity. It's just a clarity-seeking question, Honorable Minister. You earlier said that government is on its way to include other partners in terms of spectrum. Government is now merging two companies, and the sole purpose is to improve national mobile broadband. Can you just explain to the House or to South Africans, where do the cheaper data fit into this? The mobile operators that are currently operating in South Africa, and what's ICASA's view on this? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
I wish, Chairperson, I can have more time with Honorable Julius, because I think he mixes a lot of things up, and that's very dangerous. They can explode his mind. Maybe my clarity is like this. No.
Sorry, Honorable Minister. Honorable Julius, why are you standing?
Thank you. On a point of order, the minister just implied that I have a small brain.
No.
Can the minister please withdraw that?
I withdraw.
Very serious. I'm not making a joke. I'm very, very serious.
He has
because
withdrawn.
I can equally say the old man
No,
has a small brain, but I won't do it.
Honorable Julius.
I'm trying to get something out of him.
Honorable
Julius. I can't get anything.
Honorable Julius. Without even wasting time, the minister said he withdraws. Continue, Honorable Minister.
Yes. The aim is not only to improve mobile broadband. It is to improve the whole broadband. As you know, Centec deals with some satellite and also through the frequencies, but the broadband infrastructure doesn't deal with mobile. It deals with fiber, which is critical infrastructure. Even for mobiles, for them, if they've got fiber nearby, the cost will be low and the speeds will be high. So it is important for us to extend the fiber infrastructure as close as possible to every other facility, including those mobile, because they download to fiber. They don't just transmit through those towers until they reach you. So that's what is important, that we start with these core infrastructure companies rationalizing. The second reason why we're rationalizing is that as government, we cannot afford to have companies which do the same thing. We don't have the resources. Now, because it means we'll duplicate the structures, we'll duplicate the CEOs and so on. So we are reducing the cost as government and increasing the efficiency by rationalizing companies who do the same thing because of the convergence. Of course, there may be others. As you know, there are other interests as a state we have in listed companies. We are also looking how do we bring those into play. We have got fiber, which lies with other state-owned entities, like the ESCOM. It's got fiber in those pylons. The Sandral, the Metro Rail, all of them have got the fiber, which is not used to full capacity. So we are consolidating the state capacity so that we can increase our capacity to be able to deliver the efficient networks for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 273. It was asked by Honorable Chabango, but in terms of the rule, it's not in the House, and Honorable Mokwile will be standing in for Honorable Chabango. Honorable Minister.
Yes, SAPO had focused a return to profitability in 2017-2018 financial year in the current corporate plan, but the achievement of the focus objective is unlikely. This is given that the entity is still struggling with the legacy, structural, and operational funding challenges, still got funding challenges. The department is working, what are we doing to assist SAPO with revenue generation? We're working with SAPO to improve revenue generation, including our own support to SAPO to launch the e-commerce platforms. The e-commerce is the future, and we're working with them to turn around, we even design how the platform will look like. The government also intends to recapitalize SAPO, as we have heard in the February budget vote, and we hope that even in these difficult times, that recapitalization will come through the adjustments. Why we're concerned about the recapitalization? The current cost of borrowing are very high, and they are really extracting a lot from us. And we are also working to look at a new licensing regime in the whole postal sector. Firstly, that will come through the legislation to prevent the dumping of mail, particularly by international terminations by other operators, but also in terms of obligations. The only entity which is bearing obligations is SAPO, and all other operators who are more than 300 who are operating in our country have got absolutely no obligations. So those are the things we should be dealt with through legislation. But in the short term, we're hoping for recapitalization, but also we're working with them to come with new business models. I've just used one as the e-commerce, but also the financial sector. That's why we're talking about licensing of the Postbank, because those are the new revenue generation mechanism globally, because the letters are reducing. The contribution of letters is diminishing at a global level. The payment of social grant, if it comes to us, it will also contribute. That's why we're encouraging other government departments to do business with SAPO, so that we utilize the capacity, because we don't want to reduce the number of jobs at this stage because of the economy and the level of unemployment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Mokwele.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for the response. It looks like the plan that you are having, probably it will yield results. But my question to you, Minister, is that I heard you saying you are encouraging the departments or other government stakeholders to do business with SAPO. Other than encouraging, what is it that in your meetings or when you meet, wherever you meet, what is it other than encouraging that the department can assist SAPO to create income, other than encouraging governments? What is it that is so concrete that you can do with the departments per se? Because we know that SAPO is a government entity and it will assist mostly the vulnerable people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. We honestly hope these plans will work, and because we're working hard for them to work. If you can just first reduce the cost of servicing the debt, and if you can just have the money to pay these banks who gave us 3 billion, it's not really assisting us, because the servicing of that debt is huge. The encouraging of other departments, government has already taken a decision that we should try and give just a courier business. Courier business is increasing because the younger generation, they buy online, but even if you buy online through internet, you still have to deliver. So the courier business of government, really, were trying to nudge them. We hit a snag through the current Procurement Act. And the chief procurement officer was there, who then wrote to departments not to comply with what was said be set aside. And we are trying to resolve that with the current leadership in the National Treasury, because that's what is going to be important. SAPO employs quite a lot of our citizens who are not having high-end skills. So the challenge people normally, when they want to bash SAPO, they say, no, SAPO strikes, as if the other companies don't strike. The right to strike is enshrined in our Constitution. And we've been working since 2014 very well with our unions. I meet them regularly to say, let them understand the financial position of the company. When the financial position improves, then we look at the benefits for the workers, because they are working hard. I've seen them. So those are the measures that we continue to encourage. I'll be very happy if you, as members of parliament, you can take a decision that the courier services of parliament use SAPO. They've got the office right here. But now you go, I won't mention the companies you are using, I know them. No, but I'm saying, I'm talking as an institution. No, yes, the institute as an institution. So that's what we are basically encouraging. And lastly, Chairperson, we have been working very closely with SAPO to assist them to retain the big customers like UNISA. My department has been working with the management of UNISA, and now we're having more collaborative response or relationship than before. So those are the things we are really doing to hold on the key customers, because UNISA will continue to post the letters to their students, and some of the things they need from us is space. We have got a lot of warehouses in our mail centers, where now we're looking to work with them to also utilize those warehouses. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Ngita.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Chair, I would like to...
The mic, sweet.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would like to ask the Minister to share with us and South Africans about the progress made in terms of dealing with challenges that are faced with the Post Office, Chair, and the long-term strategy to deal with those, to make sure that the Post Office is a credible institution. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
The first thing we do, Chairperson, is to stabilize the management. Appoint a board, because those are key things. All senior positions now, strategic positions, CEO, CFO, and the COO, are filled. The last one being the COO. She's a very capable lady, experienced, and I've got full confidence that she's going to turn around the operations. Although she started this year, but she's working flat out. Just last week, or 10 days ago, Chairperson, I was at the Johannesburg Mail Center. They are managing to sort out the mess which was at the Johannesburg Mail Center. Now you can see the workflow that they are really processing these things, the mail which comes from outside and which goes outside. So the board, unfortunately, our chairperson left because of other business thing. We've got the acting chairperson we'll be appointing, but the board is new. They are quite committed South Africans, and those are the things first you sort first, because they are basics. You must have governance structure and accountability structure in place. We are engaging with the workers. We are engaging in new business opportunities for SAPO, and what is generation of revenue, like I've said, the e-commerce business. It's a growth area. The UPU has approached us to utilize SAPO infrastructure as the basic warehouse for whole of Africa e-commerce. and they are working closely with us, which is Universal Postal Union, which is a UN specialized body. So we are working with them on this e-commerce project. We are working very closely on making that the financial services and financial inclusion project is realized by our citizens. So those are the key elements, and putting key platforms and then change the business model. But in addition to that, lastly, Chairperson, you may know that there was a public protector report and the SIU report on the post office about the maladministration previously. The current board is working collaboratively with the SIU to try and recover the assets which were misappropriated from SAPO. Currently, we are also trying to get SAPO to move back to their offices. You remember they left their office, beautiful office in Pretoria, and went to rent in Centurion. So we're pushing them, go back to your offices which is vacant in Pretoria. Those are the things which will reduce the cost and make the company more profitable. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Mokwebo.
Nkosisihlalo ndiyabulela. Ngicela ubuza mphathiswa. You know, a lot of questions have been asked about the endeavors that you should be making to make the post office credible institution or entity, and about the profitability of the post office. And I think you've touched a nerve when you raised the issue about the SIU's involvement and all the maladministration and the issues of corruption in the SAPO, you know. And my question is it correct that as we're standing in sitting in this house, because it's only me and you standing, sitting in this house today, the South African Post Office is still stuck with a lease agreement, is still renting its main office from Eco Point. Yet the SIU, in its own report, had indicated that that agreement or that contract was irregular. And despite that, then I want to know from you, what have you done to make sure that those that were involved in the procurement processes that led to an irregular contract, that left the South African Post Office paying exorbitant amounts of rental fee, are held accountable? And if so, Minister Mphathiswa, you have not done that. Why you have not done that?
Honorable Minister.
I'll answer through you, Chair. The Echo Point matter is being addressed. The challenge why they are still there, if it was for me, they should have just left, but now will be asked to be paying for fruitless expenditure. The challenge is that, much as the SIU has pronounced, for us to nullify that contract, we must get a court order. Now, the SIU and the SAPO board, they are working flat out to get that court order. But what is disturbing, that the current owners are having every trick to delay, asking for postponement, asking for an unreasonable number of documents, losing them and then requesting again. They are playing the court game of delaying. So we have to follow the rule of law, unfortunately, in all these things. But I've got no reason to suspect the SIU. SIU is quite efficient. They're working closely with the board to really try. For me, they should have come out as of yesterday. And what they've done now is to withhold the payments so that we can see whether those people can challenge us. Because they are really holding us ransom. They don't want to go to court for this thing to be heard, but at the same time, they want us to continue to pay. So those are the things which we are trying to do to push for accountability and making sure that we recover. The people who have done this, they are being disciplined. Some of them have been disciplined, but the biggest culprit, they also use the lawyers, the legal representatives. And you know, then you get all these delays. But we are working flat out. Whenever I meet the board, we continue to push them. Let's finalize this thing. let's get our lawyers not to extract. At some stage, we're having problems when we're having cash problems, because even our lawyers, they'll come and claim, pay us first before we do the work. And in terms of the PFMA, we are not allowed to pay upfront. We must pay for the services rendered. So those are some of the things that have been really holding us at ransom, but we are trying to resolve them with the cash flow improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Engelbrecht.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Minister, thank you for those answers. If you get the SASA contract, which is valued and estimated around about 130 billion rand, what guarantees can you give this House today that the endemic corruption and maladministration that appears to be so apparent in the Post Office will be rooted out? Thank you.
Honorable Engelbrecht. We'll leave it to the minister to comment, but you can look at the original question, because the supplementary question must be linked to the original question. Honorable Minister.
Now, I'll respond to this thing of alleged endemic corruption. Yes, there was corruption in the past, but I've got no reason to believe that there's corruption now. We have got a very effective management under Mark Barnes and the new COO. Chairperson, I'll speak to you.
Honorable Minister, we are protected.
Yes.
Honorable members, let us not.
Yes. So I don't have I've just outlined to you the board, which I've appointed, is led by Advocate Ngiti currently. He's a very efficient chairperson, acting chairperson, and a lawyer. Other board members, when we're appointing that board, we're looking for people who have got corporate experience, who have got the variety of skills. The skills are very diversified, and they are working very hard to restore the dignity of the post office. Ultimately, members, the only test we'll have is when we go to a branch of a post office and get efficient services. That's a test I've put to both the management and the accounting authority in the form of the board. That I'm not satisfied just by reports which are written on paper. I do visit the post office. I do see, and what is good now, unlike before, when I find something or a member finds something and they resolve those things. It's not more like before where you find the repeated problems, you ask what have you done and find no resolution of problems. So the SAPO has got a good future. SAPO is going to be a strong institution. I'll just use this example as an ending, Chair. One of the companies now listed was exactly in the same state in 2012. Today, that company is a state-owned SOEC, is bringing close to R1 billion profitability per year. At that stage, people were saying, just sell this thing. And a key strategic asset like this one, which has got good infrastructure, if you go to any Dorpi, the nice-looking building and strong building is a post office, if you look at the original post office building. And we are intending to roll out government services to become a government portal in each of those stations or post offices, so that the services, whether it's licensing, whether it's any government service, people can receive it there because we are now connecting them to internet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, Honorable Mokwebo.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just a point of order, Chairperson. In fact, not really, but clarity here. Minister, which bank do you bank with?
No, Honorable
Postbank.
Honorable Mokwebo, you don't do that. You are totally out of order. No, I've clarified we're here that we do 4 supplementary questions. It was Honorable Ngita, it was yourself, it was Prince, it was Honorable Engelbrecht, and those were 4 supplementary questions, and now we are out of order. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 263, asked by Honorable Julius. Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, I think I've given answer to this question, but I'll repeat. The first thing, Julius, the ANC government is pushing for financial inclusion as a matter of policy. And the Postbank is part of that instrument of ensuring that all our citizens can have access to banks. That will help us move our economy from informal economy to formal economy when people have got bank accounts. That will help us to be able to count more economic activities than currently, where we are counting a small portion. And that's why you find some of the countries now, they say their GDP are above South Africa, because they are counting everything. But the Postbank currently provides a number of saving and transactional products to customers and manages 5.8 million accounts as per 30th of September this year. All transactional products are compatible with automatic teller machine, or what is called ATM, and point-of-sale POC devices with the national payment system. So we're part of the national payment system already. After the banking license is granted, Postbank intends embarking.
Honorable Minister, sorry.
Instrument that speaks. Oh.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Whose gadget is that? Can that not happen again, please? Okay. The apology is accepted. Can you continue, Honorable Minister?
Yes. Thank you, Chairperson. I was saying the Postbank, after getting license, intends to embark on a lending offering which is aimed at strengthening the bank's current value proposition. The fully fledged bank will have a full lending capability subject to complying with relevant regulatory requirements. So in short, when we have that, we'll be complying with all the regulatory requirements imposed by the Reserve Bank. The bank is also exploring the provision of other products, such as insurance projects, to support the growing demand of these product segments. The bank is also currently procuring a full-service digital and electronic channeling in order to facilitate online banking and electronic payment at low cost for its customers. So those are the technical things we are doing currently, and with the current license and in preparation for fully fledged license. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Julius.
Thank you, House Chair. I think it's commendable, Chairperson, the Minister, that we have our Postbank. The problem that we have in South Africa in terms of all our endeavors is corruption, corruption, corruption. Now, where I'm getting at now, Chairperson, allow me in my 2 minutes. We have state-captured, dodgy dealings, and the rejection of major banks. Major banks rejected the Guptas, right? They don't have a place to bank at the moment. Now they are interested in banking with the Postbank. You must listen. One of the Guptas said, they wrote to the Guptas or to the department and say, we hope you will not be biased. We want you to be unbiased so that when we apply for a banking account at the Postbank, we will be able to use it. Now the question is, Minister, This Postbank that the ANC starting, will the Guptas be allowed to bank there, seeing that for various reasons, all major banks, even the Bank of Baroda rejected them, will the Postbank give an opportunity for the Guptas to bank there? Thank you. Or any company associated with the Guptas. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Now, Honorable Chairperson, I'm not aware of any letter written by that family to us. I've not seen such a letter. Or let me just simply say there's no such a letter. I've just said, yes, the bank won't be discriminating, but anyone, because it deals with financial inclusion. But it will fully comply with the requirements because we are governed by the regulator, which is the South African Reserve Bank. That's a commitment we have made even during our application of the license, and that's a commitment which is in the board. There's a commitment which is with the management. All these other things in the media, I won't really comment about them. We hope to be, much as we're gonna be lending at a reduced cost, it won't be so cheap that gonna require bailouts again. We want it to be a viable, sustainable bank, but which is affordable to our people. And which respect the regulations which are set up by the regulator, which is the Reserve Bank in this. That's my answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mohai.
Do follow up. Julius, their attention has been called on several times here. Thanks, Chair. And I also want to thank the Minister for conceptual clarity on the Postbank and clearing quite a number of questions. Why the need of the Postbank? But Minister, as you already highlighted, that in every small town there is existing infrastructure for this bank, for the Postbank. The question really, as you have said, that we said the Postbank will be is part of the system to advance financial inclusion. But by way of emphasis, maybe, if you can, Minister, just articulate how will the Postbank advance the plight of the poor and serve the rural communities who genuinely are in need of service. I think the greatest test will be how the Postbank will reach out to these communities. Thanks.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The first thing is that of our reach. The current infrastructure is reaching every small dorpy. If you go even to rural KwaZulu-Natal, where I come from, or rural Eastern Cape, or rural Limpopo, the first thing you'll see in those small dorpy is a post office. They are closer to our people who are trying to serve. The second element is that one of the cost of borrowing. The Postbank won't be looking for super profit, but will be looking for sustainability profit so that they can continue to lend to those who are in this market. Bearing in mind that the market segment we're targeting is what the other bank has classified as high risk. To us, we don't see it as pure high risk because of, yes, there'll be risk assessment in terms of the amount of loans, but we think it will stimulate economic activity. If an auntie wants to buy a stove or equipment to make magwinyas, they may just need 20,000. And this thing of collaterals, because we're far from where people stay, make these people not to have any access to finance. And these are small businesses which create more jobs. The small farmer who needs to get just a small implement or the seeds or inputs for a farm instead of waiting for all these lengthy processes in far distant towns, they'll have access to the financial services. And that will stimulate the rural agriculture, which is core of the economy in those rural areas. The informal sector is vibrant economy. If you go to any township, there's vibrant economic activity, but they just don't have access to these finances. That's why we're trying to revive even those branches which were closed because of the financial challenges in the post office, so that we have got a fully fledged and extend the services to reach as many people as possible. Those are the efforts which we are trying to put. We are also modernizing the post office. Because if we just modernize, the efficiencies will be huge. If we have got fast speed internet in all our branches, there'll be no one who's queuing, waiting for the call to come from Bloemfontein just for the transaction. So those are the things, yes. That's why we want them to have a fair access to spectrum for all, not for the few. So those are the measures we are putting, Honorable Chairperson, to assist and bring confidence and assist our people. The issue of financial inclusion, Chairperson, is so important for our economy. The real growing sector is going to be in that uplifting of the currently marginalized grouping to meaningfully participate in our economy. We want to abolish this thing of first economy and the second economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable De Blanche.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Can we have the mic close?
Minister, thank you. I think it's in everybody's interest that we get the Postbank to work properly. And you gave us a lot of assurances that that is exactly happening at the moment. But you also told us that the Postbank is still not a profitable organization. And you also told us the importance that people must make use of the Postbank. Minister, my question now is to you, sir. Yourself as the minister and the board of that organization and the top management of that organization, Minister, do you use that Postbank for your bank stuff that you need to do, and also the board and the top management, sir? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Okay, let me start by correcting the first thing. I've never said the Postbank is not profitable. It's SAPO who's got financial challenges. The Postbank as entity is profitable. It's working well, well managed. Their accounts are increasing on a daily basis. The rate of increase is about 27 or 30%, I can't remember exactly. That shows you that there is effective banking for these people. I'll urge all the members to open even the saving accounts with the post office. Yes, I do have a saving account. But I want all of us. No, wait, members.
Honorable members, let's listen. The minister is still responding to the question.
I'm encouraging you. Yeah. No, it's not
Honorable
me.
members, order.
It's not me and the board, it's South Africans. What I'm encouraging, my own organization, the ANC, I'm even encouraging them to use the Postbank. I hope the DA also will use the Postbank so that we walk the talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, let me take this opportunity to thank Minister Kwele for availing himself to take questions in the NCOP. Thank you, Minister. Thank you. Honorable members, on behalf of the leadership of the NCOP, working with the Chief Whip, taking advantage of the two ministers that are here, after the incident of that site, I've heard this site, The chief whip will be writing to the two of you as you are dealing with telecom and these other private sectors to make a special day to come and train members about the gadgets that are giving them problems because it's problematic. And I know that you are not going to charge any cent. It's going to be a free service. Honorable Kupai, you are invited to come to the fore. We now invite the Honorable Minister of Communication to start with the first question, 253, asked by Honorable Julius. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Your request is duly noted. I think let me take this opportunity to thank honorable members for the questions. With the questions from Honorable Julius, for the 2016-17 financial year, the GCIS placed advertising to the value of 81,874,000 in the new age for the voter education campaign. During the same period, however, the GCIS spent a total of 844,140 in all media on advertising for various campaigns such as SONA, voter education, and local government elections. Of the total amount, 300,000 was spent on 50 community radio stations, and 138,875 was spent on adverts as well. 169,535 was spent on Times Media, and 68,010 on independent newspapers. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Julius.
Thank you, House Chair, and let me also congratulate and welcome the Minister. You know, there's sometimes a new mandate. I just hope it's not the Gupta mandate, Minister. I have faith in you that you will actually not follow that mandate. Well, people can howl at me. It's all over the news, the speculations. It's all over with the reshuffle yesterday. I think it's worth mentioning.
Honorable Julius, you're out of order. Can you focus on your supplementary question?
In my 2 minutes.
And congratulating the minister was in order, but the other things.
I can do it.
Yes, do it.
I'm in my 2 minutes. Minister, the former GCIS head, Mzwanele Mani, ANC affiliated, he recently bought the New Age paper NAN7 from the Guptas. This is the same family that contracted the PR firm Bell Pottinger to flare up racial tension in South Africa, which the DA, at least, we followed up on that one. Now, the new owner of this media companies announced that his media would be the primary communications hub of South Africa last month or 6 weeks ago. Now, my question is, will the GCIS use the New Age and ANN7 as its primary communicator in future, as stated by Mzwanele Mani? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Let me start firstly, House Chairperson, to say transformation in the media sector is very necessary and important, and we welcome to see more and more black people buying into the media space because transformation can't be compromised. So with Jimmy Manyi joining as an owner, I think it needs to be welcomed because we're seeing more transformation. Now, on the issue of ANN7 and New Age being primary, I don't think there's any decision like that. You are speculating and we do not have that decision as government. So we're utilizing all the platforms. As I said earlier, I could count for you all the newspapers and how it's balanced in terms of the amount we are spending, and that is not going to change. So we are working together with all the media houses, but what I need to emphasize, they need to transform.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mokwele.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hope you will continue where Honorable Ayanda Dlodlo left the institution, especially they can be from ANC, but
Honorable
not serving
Mokwele, don't
the
be
same
tempted.
master. You know, Mos.
Ntebe. Honorable Ntebe, Honorable Mokwele.
Wabona Ntebe, ne?
No, I've addressed him.
I will
Can
address
you leave
him.
Honorable Ntebe? Ask the question. Order members.
Thank you, Minister Rarahwa Mogela Utlwa, Motsa Khaso. Re solofela gore o tla go re representa pila, o tla dira gore tirelo khaso ya rona ya bosetšhaba e re akaretse rotlhe go netefatsa gore tse re tshwanetseng gore re di kreye mo yone di diragala ka tolamo. Potsonyana ka fela e nngwe minister ke gore ra itse gore tirelo khaso e ne e na le tumalano le setlamo sa New Age go dira khaso tsa mo mosong. Ke batla go checka gore tirelo khaso ya rona ke madi a makanakang a kreileng jaaka letseno go tswa mo go tiragasong eo ya breakfast show ya with the New Age. Thank you very much.
Honorable.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo mme Mokwele, mtlhomphegi Mokwele, jaaka ke leboga mantswe a gago a go welcome. Se ke ratang go se tlhalosa mme go gore ga mo di exact figures ke tla tshwanna go di lebella ga ke na tsona mara as o tseba gore go etsagetseng ebile board e tswileng ya e stopper program eo, so re tla tshwanna go boela morago re bone gore go sebedisitswe madi a le makakang. Madi a ne re wa lebelletse otlhe ne le madi a jara otlhe a lebellaneng le ditirelo tsotlhe tse ile reng ke tsa dipampiri tsa rona. So ka seo se batlang specifically re tla tshwanna go bua mo go wena re go nele di figures kaofela. Ke a leboga.
Thank you. Honorable Mpambo Spugwane.
Enkosi Sihlalo. Ndifuna kuwe mphathiswa omtsha mandikwamkele okokuqala uba udlale indima yakho njengomama. Okokuqala ndifuna ukwazi kuwe uba uyazinika isibophelelo kulo msebenzi wakho omtsha into yokuba awuzuvumela nakancinci nakanye ipropaganda eyenziwe nethe yenzeka phambi kwakho ku GCIS ngokuko.
Honorable Minister.
Mhlonishwa isibophelelo sisenza kanye njengabahlonishwa nabaphathiswa. Ndathi ndisandukubekwa njengomphathiswa wakwa energy kwezamandla ndathatha isinqumo phambi kula judge nomongameli ukuba ndizawusebenzela ilizwe leSouth Africa. So ndisame kuloso sibopho ndasithatha ngaleyo mini. Endifuna ukukutsho mama ukuthi iGCIS fanele sijonge ukuthi iGCIS yenzelwe ntoni njengekampani kahulumeni njenge-department kahulumeni, because reason ukuba iGCIS ibe khona ukuba izoba ngumlomo kahulumeni. So andiyazi le propaganda iba ijonge phi against ubani, ngoba uGCIS uthethelela uhulumeni akakwazi uthethelela omunye umuntu, fanele athethelela uhulumeni. Xa engabe uGCIS athetha uzawuthetha ezizinto zenziwa nguhulumeni. Kaloku sihlala sibona abanye ababhalayo abakwazi abafuni ukubhala ngezinto ezinhle ezenzekalayo kulohulumeni. So sisebenzisa kakhulu uGCIS ukuba abe ngumlomo kahulumeni kuyo yonke into esiyenzayo, athethe ezizinto ezinhle esizenzayo njengohulumeni ngoba zininzi mama. Enkosi Sihlalo.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, We now come to question 275 asked by Honorable Koni. Honorable Koni is not in the house, and Honorable Mokwele, in terms of the rules, will be standing in for Honorable Koni. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. The Independent Communications Authority of South Africa has established a Complaints and Compliance Committee in terms of Section 17A of the Independent Communication Authority of South Africa Act number 13 of 2000 to investigate and hear if appropriate and make a finding on 1, all matters referred to it by the authority and complaints received by it. To date, the authority has not received any information regarding theft of data. However, and upon receipt of such information, a detailed investigation will be conducted and a report can be available. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mokwele.
Ke a leboga, Minister ga ke na potso ne? Sure.
Thank you, Honorable Mokwele. Honorable Engelbrecht.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Minister, data for all is a fight that the DA is bringing to the ANC government. We believe that data is a critical, Mr. Chair, protection again, please.
Honorable members, I can't be constantly reminding you. It's entirely up to us to sustain and maintain the decorum of the House. Honorable Engelbrecht, you are protected. I hope when others are standing, you'll do the same. Honorable Engelbrecht.
I'll give it my best shot, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Minister, we believe, the DA believes that data for all is a critical right, and we believe that it's an economic necessity to ensure that we increase the economic activity of our unemployed, our youth, and our students. And the price of data must fall. However, providers such as Vodacom, MTN, who are charging huge amounts for their LTE connections, we believe that they are accountable to the people of South Africa. What measures will your department take to monitor these companies and prevent them from acting in these illegal manners? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Honorable Mtlashupin.
But this question is not related to the major question, Chair.
No, honorable
members. The
members.
first question talks about the investigation of a company and what steps have been taken. And this is about data. And there is a question on the question paper that deals with data.
Honorable members, I've consistently, thanks Honorable Mtlashupin, honorable members, I've consistently said the supplementary question must be linked to the original one. But let me leave it to the Honorable Minister if it's intending to comment about it. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. There is a question here, but just to clarify something, Honorable Member, you'd remember that I was the Chair of Telecommunications and Postal Services. Yeah. I led an investigation. I'm not so sure what you're talking about when you say DA is leading. DA has never led on data must fall, never. We did an investigation. If you need that report, is available in Parliament. The Portfolio Committee on Telecommunications and Postal Services, which at the time I was chair of, did public hearings on data must fall, on data. We called several people, academics, we called people who are SMMEs. You would have noted at that time we had one of the people who owned online radio station like Tibotage, which became an online campaign as well, where we collated signatures to start the campaign on data must fall. So please don't claim easy victories.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, we now come to question, order members. We now come to question 247 asked by Honorable Nyambi, and in terms of the rules, Honorable Dlamini will be standing in for Honorable Nyambi. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. As you are aware, the President of the Republic of South Africa has signed a proclamation authorizing the Special Investigation Unit, SIU, to conduct its constitutional mandate at the SABC, The SIU has already commenced its work, and in fact, I'm informed that they have been allocated an office at the SABC, and once the investigation is completed, it is only then that the truth will be known. It must be noted that government has sufficient institutions in the country, such as the Hawks and Asset Forfeiture Unit, to deal with all alleged misconducts, and it is not up to the minister to predetermine the outcome of the investigation. So in the true sense of it, I don't even have to write anything, Honorable Member. All the institutions that they do, like the Hawks, they follow the matters and they investigate on their own. So the matter is currently in relevant hands, and we would like to leave into that so that we can focus on our mandate as the department. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dlamini. Also, Honorable Dlamini, let me deal with Honorable Julius.
Just on a point of order, House Chair, for clarity's sake, only clarity's sake. Can you please...
Order, members.
Oh, man. How about you? You didn't even hear what I want to say. And pardon me, Honorable Minister, the rule that you are referring to now, is it the same rule that states when a member's not in the House, then that question can be deferred or given to someone else? I just want you to, yes.
But, honourable members, it's not a difficult thing. Let's allow him to speak, then we'll deal with it.
House Chair, they must listen, because next term, we will sit there and they will also argue. But let me ask, I'm just asking for clarity. Can you quote the rule?
Members of this House. And it will apply, now I've made an arrangement and those people are not here when I'm tape. And it will apply again to members of the opposition. I so wish. If you, I don't argue anything, I even ask you, but you are here. You are here. You are here. So if you are reading it that way, it's fine. We are going to do the very same thing and don't rule the same. We are going to do the very same thing and rule it like you are ruling it today. We are taking the rule, the decision.
Honourable members, let me assist. The rule is saying if a member is unable to take the question and the proper arrangement has been made with another member in the House, and that's what the rule is saying, and there's nothing that has been violated here. Honourable Dlamini, can you continue?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Minister for a new responsibility, with an understanding that she will do the best she can. My follow-up chairperson on the question is just to check whether the laws of the country do allow that monies to be recovered from anyone if those monies were benefited through corrupt activities or means, and also if those or that person or senior managers are out of the service, is it allowed? Do the laws of the country allow that to happen?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, there are mechanisms whereby when a person has left the employ, a company is able to recover, even the department. Others, what they do, they use your pension fund. They don't release it, they hold it until you are able to pay all the monies that is owed by the state. So each entity, every company will apply the rules based on how they are able to. If it's corrupt activities or illegal activities that has been, or somebody like any other, like in crime environment where somebody has committed a crime, commercial crime, and therefore asset forfeiture unit will come and attach any asset in the house or everything. So that those laws exist within our country. We are able to implement them as government.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable okay, it's fine. Thank you, Honourable Mokwele. Honourable Ntebe, are you also fine?
No, Chair. Minister, we know that you are quite capable. As the new minister now responsible, are you committed to make sure that such allegations through consequence management framework are going to be through the new board that is now there are going to be consequence management framework in place to avert future happenings of allegations of corruption.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. I will be meeting with the teams, all the boards, and also the leadership of the department. Definitely, it's important that we bring credibility to our institutions and credibility to our entities. So one of the things that one would have to do is to evaluate if there are weaknesses. Where there are weaknesses, definitely have to work with the team in communications to be able to bring measures in place so that we bring confidence in the public and as well South Africans, so that whatever we talk about and what we do can be able to be believed by South Africans, because we would have shown systems of consistency, accountability, and transparency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 269. Asked by Honorable Kaula, who's not in the House, but a proper arrangement was made. Honorable Keila will be standing in for Honorable Kaula. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The disciplinary hearing have been finalized for Mr. Mtswaning, was found guilty and dismissed. The matter is currently before the CCMA because he's challenging that decision. No outcome has been received yet. With Mr. Aguma, he was charged but resigned before the disciplinary process could be concluded. On the matter, in terms of consequences, we do believe that consequence management should apply where there are wrongdoing. But I think what is going to assist us is the investigation by the SIU, as proclaimed by the President, where we will be able to see who has done what, where, and what penalties will have to. At this moment, we can only say this is what we think has happened, but tangibly with the relevant institutions, they will be able to assist us and understand the nature of the crime or the nature of the issue that has been committed so that it can be responded to, Chair. I think that for me is very important, that we allow both the institution and also the SIU to complete so that we can deal with the matter properly. So as the matter goes, we can be keeping the House updated and the relevant committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Keila.
Thank you for the reply, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, we want to know whether the Minister intends to enforce the Labour Court order. Whether the Minister will intend to enforce the Labour Court order for Hlaudi to pay back the legal costs for the SABC 8 journalist. You got it?
The way they're making noise this side as well. They wanted to be noted.
Debe, please.
Sorry, it's a point of order. Sorry, Honorable Keila. Let me deal with Honorable Abuskaghni.
If she put off a microphone while he's talking, you can.
Honorable Keila. Thanks, Honorable Abuskaghni. Honorable Keila.
Thank you for protecting me. Whether the Minister intends to enforce the Labour Court order for Hlaudi to pay back the legal costs to the SABC 8 journalist.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think the Honourable Member will understand the South African Broadcasting Act. The Minister does not have direct authority over executive in the SABC. That matter is the responsibility of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Mtimunye.
Thank you, Chair. My concern again, Honourable Minister, it may not be your direct responsibility, but I'm very much concerned about the so-called SABC 8 who wants to be freelancers in an organization. I think we must find a way to rein them in because they can't be freelancers in an organization. They must always comply with the editorial policy of that organization. Now they seem to be wanting to be freelancers.
Honourable members, honourable members, honourable members, honourable members, honourable members, let order. I will leave it to the minister. The question of Honourable Mtimunye is not linked to the original question. It's a totally new question, but I'll leave it to the minister. Honourable Minister, if you want to comment.
Thank you very much. Chair, I'm not so sure, I'm not aware of that. If indeed there are individuals in the SABC who are behaving like free agents, we'll definitely attend to it.
Thank you. Honourable Minister, we now come to question 252, asked by Honourable Julius. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. The SABC staff members are not authorized to seek permission, or there is no way where they need to seek permission from the minister each time they meet stakeholders as part of their work. And therefore, even in this instance, I didn't, or any other minister didn't need to be informed. To this end, the minister has been informed that the meeting that took place was a routine meeting of which Presidency had already responded to through a media statement. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Julius.
Thank you, Minister. It is now in the public domain that the President appointed the SABC board after he summoned those people to his office. It is no surprise that the board chairperson, Bongo Musa Makatini, is also the chairperson of the foundation run by one of the President's wives. The deputy board chairperson, Faye Potgieter Kubule, is a close ally and advisor to the President's other ex-wife, NDZ. Even you, Minister, was reshuffled yesterday.
Honorable Julius, what is the relevance of that?
Ensure
Honorable Julius, let me deal with Honorable Mutara.
Chair, the person that the Honorable Julius is referring to is equally a member of Parliament and must be referred to as such.
Honorable Julius, the point of order is sustained. The person referred to, it's a member of Parliament. So in terms of the rules of Parliament, we have to refer to each other appropriately. So you can refer to the honorable member appropriately.
the President's ex-wife, Nkosasana, Honorable Nkosasana Dlamini Zuma.
Honorable Julius, Honorable Mukwele.
On a point of order, Chair, I just want to check what is offensive about being labeled as a wife of someone. What is offensive about it?
Honorable.
Because she's an ex-wife, and then what?
Can you take a seat?
That woman is an ex-wife of JZ. It's true.
Honorable Mokwele, can you take your seat?
There's nothing offensive of being called an ex-wife of somebody.
Honorable members.
We always refer to Mama Winnie as an ex-wife of Nelson Mandela. She doesn't get any offense. So there's nothing wrong with Julia saying to her that she's an ex-wife.
Honorable members, it's not for me to start here dealing with the rules that we have adopted that are still guiding us. Let's refer to each other appropriately. Inasmuch as, honorable members, honorable members, let us not get to the debate of discussing what is just wasting time, but let's respect each other and refer to each other appropriately. I'm a husband of somebody, but I can't be referred to as such. No, I'm an honorable member. Honorable Julius.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me get to the point. Communications is a very, very strategic department, Minister. GCIS sends information from government. Government message must go out and propaganda can easily go out. So I'm asking you, Minister, based on the facts that I've given you now, can you guarantee that the SABC will not be captured again like before? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. It's very confusing from the executive side that Parliament would engage in a process, recommend to the President that these are people who need to be appointed, threaten with courts to say if you do not appoint these people, we are going to court. When President appoints and follows the legislation, South African Broadcasting Act, then you complain. Why did you recommend those people as Parliament if you found them not suitable? Because it is not, it's a process of Parliament. So you are casting aspersion on the Houses of Parliament. You are casting aspersion on the capability and the work of Parliament. I'm not so sure if that's what you want to do, honorable member, because all those members that are recommended were not by the executive. It was members who are recommended by Parliament. And when Parliament does that process, Parliament understands that any of those individuals that are submitted can become chair and can become deputy chair. I think, Chair, I need to address a matter in order for us to understand that we live in a society where our past is very important, where we have faced triple challenges as women, and therefore we should not continue to be oppressed as women. And members of the House must be cognizant that women's rights are important, and such chauvinist approach into debates are very hurtful to women.
Thank you. Honorable Mokwele.
Order, Chair.
On what?
You know, let me tell you, Louis, I have a right to speak in
Honorable
this
Mokwele.
House.
Honorable Mokwele.
If maybe
Honorable
you
Mokwele.
don't know that
Honorable Mokwele.
it is within my
Honorable
right,
Mokwele. Honorable Mokwele.
Louis.
Can you?
Yes.
No. We don't have Louis here.
We have.
No,
we
have
call
Honorable
each other like
Zimand.
that. He's
No.
not offended. You can ask him.
No, there are rules in this
You
house.
can, yeah. That's what you are doing. You find the systems and you just follow into a system.
No, Honorable Mokwele, we have got rules in the house.
I know.
Yeah, but
And those rules were never adopted. That's point number one. We are still busy with the rules, and you know very well. You know very well that
Can you take your seat so
as
that I address you?
as a house, we have never
Can you take your
adopted
seat?
any rules.
Can you take your seat?
So
that
it
I
is
address
not
you?
for you to say
Take your
that.
seat.
I will sit down, but I'm still going to point out my
Yes.
point of order.
Honorable members.
I was addressing that matter.
Honorable members, the National Council of Provinces does have rules. These are the rules. What is happening currently, it's a process of amending the existing rules. So it's very wrong and incorrect to stand on the platform and say we don't have rules. We have adopted these rules. And if you refer to each other, there's a way how to refer to each other. Honorable Mokwele, can you ask your question?
I'm fine. I just
Thank
wanted to tell you
Honorable
that
Minister.
we have the right to
No,
speak.
take
And
your
as
seat.
women, we can't... you can switch it. I've got a very...
Honorable
voice, Chair.
Minister, we now
Chair.
come. Honorable Mokwele, you said you are fine.
Chair.
So
I've never said I'm not speaking.
no, you said you are fine.
Saying fine doesn't mean I don't have to speak.
Okay, speak.
Thank you very much. I'm standing on a point of order to say, as a woman, I will never use my position to oppress another woman. And as women, we must never, ever, ever take any matter as oppressive and see us as victims. We must be able to differentiate things. If you are called by the position of your marital status, it's not a problem. You can be called an ex-wife, you can be called a wife. It's not an offensive matter, Minister, and I will never ever oppress any woman. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, honorable members, can you allow me to move to the next question? Not unless we want to make this thing an issue. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 251, asked by Honorable Singh. I'm reliably informed in terms of the rules that Honorable Mangete will be standing in for Honorable Singh. The Honorable Zwane. Honorable Zwane. Honorable Minister.
Thanks, Chair. I need to highlight actually my response because I'm not so sure if the member was aware. What the member has asked is a very detailed question that almost when we work, it gave us about 9 pages of a response. Because there are specific, as it says, request details. So I'm going to try and summarize it. If members do want, we can leave the copy so that members do have access to it.
No, I can assist you, Minister. In terms of the rules, if you are dealing with statistics, you can just provide the reply in writing.
Market study and international data price benchmarking research report, preliminary research conducted internally by the authority ascertained that various factors potentially influence the pricing of data. These non-restrictive factors include technology factor, spectrum, the access to network, useful life, replacement of equipment. Geographical factors include borders reaching mountains, coverage of tunnels, coverage of rails, capacity of rural areas, and then others, it's NIR regulations and energy cost. Again, the pricing of any product, service is based on demand and supply. This fundamental components of demand and supply represents the willingness of consumers to pay a certain price and operators to engage in buying and selling. The authority has not yet conducted study on the market analysis of whether prices of data are based on demand and the country's standard of living and demographics of product. However, the authority is of the view that prices are based on both demand and standard living. The view is based on observation drawn from monitoring of tariffs plans in the notification that the authority received from operators. So those I do have statistics will give. What one needs to highlight, Honorable Member, is that there is more work that needs to be done in order to deal with the issues of cost to communicate in the country, and especially on data costs. So it gives you basically all the issues and the cost, analyzing it. As I said earlier, Chair, if members can take time to look at the report of the Portfolio Committee on Telecommunication, it will give you even countries in terms of analysis of costs, so that when engaging, then it can give an informed decision on what needs to be done. Thank you very much, Chair.
You can just say one sentence, you officially table, then members will be given the copy.
Thank you very much. I officially table this comprehensive response for members to go through.
Thank you, Minister. Then, Honorable Mangete.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ngoba ke umphathiswa usethe uzosinikeza amakhophi empendulo egcwele. Mhlawumbe singa expressa nje ukubonga ngokuzikhathaza kwakhe ukuthi awuphendule lo mbuzo ngendlela ezosanelisa uma sisifunda i-document ayiphethe. Ngifiseke nje sihlalo uku-eda izwi lami ekuthenini siyambongela umphathiswa kwi-leadership entsha ayinikeziwe. As women, we are rising higher and higher, and we are going to give you all the support that you need, Minister. Nokuthi ke siyakwamukela futhi ezweni labashadikazi. Siyabonga.
Thank you. Honorable members, allow me to take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister of Communication, new from the box in the portfolio, for availing herself to answer questions. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much.
Honorable members, allow me to take this opportunity to thank both ministers for their availability today and you members, and emphasize that the issue of the conduct and the decorum is not an issue of an individual, is the issue of all of us. And at all times, whatever we do, we must know that we have got a responsibility as honorable members of this august house called the National Council of Provinces. That concludes the business of the day. Honorable members, you are requested to remain standing until the procession has left the house. The house is adjourned. Thank you.